Yeah, good evening, everybody. So I am not basically a modeler, although I work with models, but with economic models, econometric models. But I would also say this is not the main concern, I would say, which is really suitable for a master thesis, because the knowledge base you would need and the data collection you would need to do would normally exceed the time frame and the frame of what you're supposed to know of a typical master thesis. So that would be a doctorate thesis. We can talk about it in a year or so, yeah? Let's talk rather, well, I cannot, I think we have the same problem, no? There is certainly a lot of topics you might have in mind and you might develop from your background, which I have not ever considered. So I cannot say everything I say is the only option we have. I can just talk from some experience. And I would like to draw your focus first of all to the areas where I know I have very good partners already. I can send students there without any doubt that you will be well treated and supported in your thesis work. But still it's not complete and still there are more partners. So just take it rather as an inspiration than as the real topics to discuss. So one thing is we have worked in integral, we have talked about it on several occasions, so we have worked in integral project up to last year. And still this year we sent 3 new students to work in this area, to do some research on integral. So it's still open because the topics are not fully covered and our network of partners is still working. So that's why I can still promise, if you have interest in working on something like on animal husbandry, on value chain analysis, and actually the recent thesis confirmed that the dairy sector is a critical one where value chain analysis would be very important and some knowledge would be needed. We are dealing with different aspects of labeling, so organic labels as well as regional labels are moving forward in the Brazilian and also other Latin American markets, so they become an interesting option. Evaluation of the performance of a protein bank, that is an agroforestry system we have implemented in this rather drought-prone area. And this has been implemented 3 or 4 years ago, and now it would be the time to go again and check if it's really working, if the animals are better off, if the productivity is high, and to do some let's say, agronomic analysis there. Yeah, economic analysis is somehow, farming systems actually is my keyword. I love farming system research, and this has several approaches, so that's not the one, but the object of farming system research is always the full concept of production systems on farms and the family who manage this farm. So it's an integrated socio-economic, ecological system, and that makes it also, that allows to also apply several approaches, rather oriented towards productivity, rather to food security, or rather to economic optimization. Yeah, erosion, that's not really, I don't know why it's still here. And the last one, the sugar harvesting technology, I will come to that later. So just, I don't know, has anybody already shown you some details of integral project? I didn't see it in Udo's presentation.
Today, at least. I was here the whole
Yeah, not today. So just very quickly, is that their point? Was their pointer there? So our project region is Rio de Janeiro State, and in this area, so like I talked of these systems of silvopastoral systems and husbandry, dairy, blah, blah, blah. This is all here. This is the area where sugarcane is grown, and we have some more areas here where some rehabilitation projects are taking place. The other areas are not so in the focus. Okay, so the good thing is why I always show, it's not, you will not work in this Mata Atlantica region, not in the forest area, but it's a good, it's very close, so you can always go there, and it's really beautiful. That's the reality of our area, so it's not so beautiful. It should have been, let's say the natural landscape would also be forest, but this has been removed now almost, let's say minimum 70% are removed, and in the areas where we work, it's even higher, the percentage of unforested areas. And this is an area where still intensive horticulture is possible, as you see here, but we deal rather with the degraded area of pasture lands, although this is not the worst. This is more the reality we are talking of. Yeah. So, and this means the drought periods of the last year have made it even more difficult. So this area needs a solution. It's deteriorating very much, so still a lot of work to do. Just to say who are our partners, and that's important here. This, in Rio de Janeiro, the most important partner is the Agriculture Secretary, but also the local partners we have in all locations. We have very good local partners to support the researchers. And some of them are more research-based, like Pesagro, which is an agriculture research center, and Embrapa. We have a researcher from Embrapa here right now. So if you are interested, like Udo's work is related to soil issues, but we work with the same partners also on other issues. Okay. So yeah, again, here are the areas again. Yeah, so still evaluation is needed for recuperation areas here, where erosion has been stopped with some hedge lines. And here, this is a silvopastoral system. Yeah. Okay, so that was the initial, not going through the planning phase. This is the very funny farmer we work with and still are working with. And this is somebody from the Agriculture Extension Service, or very, very good people, actually. So just an example, what was developed before, this is a support to farmers to better manage their animals. So they have here a plan to observe the herd, to do some fertility planning, and some advice how to deal with milk to have better quality of the product. Well, yeah, and this is the very famous Cologne solution for sugarcane harvesting. This is the other branch. And this is an ongoing activity, at least until this, the end of this year. It's an ongoing project. And we have some more projects in the pipeline. So, well, it's innovative insofar as it's suitable for smallholders, which, and it's for smallholders, it can harvest full without burning the sugarcane before. And since the legislation in most countries, environmental legislation, moves towards prohibiting burning, this is one possible solution to make smallholders survive. So, and it has some potential side effects which we are studying right now. And this is, we are removing leaves and have very, how do you say, unspoiled residual biomass, which then can be used for energetic use, or for as a fodder, or as a basis for other process products. So we are checking on several ways how to process the residuals and how to put them back into some value chains. But the most interesting aspect seems to be energy. So right now we have a student in that region who is studying the potential of the straw of the sugarcane to be used energetically in the process of sugarcane production, which then would mean we have another residual which can be compacted, the bagasse, which could be then used for other purposes. So we would see. So he's checking the economics of it. Does it economically make sense to harvest the straw, and how can it be processed? Okay, this I would not want to talk about. That's why I have so many slides on it. Sanitation, just as an example, one of our partners was working on decentral sanitation systems, and together we developed or we supervised a master thesis to study the cost benefits of decentral sanitation systems. And the thing is, well, I'm not a sanitation expert, but how to evaluate the, especially the non-monetary values of sanitation, that's where I came in this. So we co-supervised an expert from sanitation with me as the economist. And actually that was one of the thesis which also resulted then in publications. So an interesting topic as well, important at least. And the other part is in ecosystem services. Udo Nehren and Claudia Rädig also work on ecosystem services, ecological services of ecosystems in several ways. And I'm certainly the economist in this. So payment for ecosystem services from the setup, but also on really evaluating ecological services economically. Quite an issue. And one of the interesting movements is that it becomes interesting again to develop carbon projects. The voluntary carbon market is rising again, so we have a very good, let's say, the chances to make money with such a project are improving. So that means it would also be interesting, for example, for the sugarcane project, to see how much CO2 can be held back. How many credits can we generate with these activities, and how could they pay off in a VCA market, so in a voluntary carbon market. Also RED is on the rise, so the RED Plus projects, another interesting aspect where evaluation is important. This would be an example of labeling. So what we have done already is we compared a local, regional, ecological, let's say, or sustainability label and its potentials to be implemented in Brazil. So that was already a study done, but there's certainly much more in it, and we hope to proceed there. Okay. Harvesting technology. Sorry. We have a project in the pipeline. So if you are interested in this sugarcane harvesting thing and energy use and so on, the project is due, but we depend on the allocation of the public budget. And since our government is really late, we should have already known by this month, or by May actually, what the result of the evaluation was. But it might be that all the project will be cancelled, or the program, and so nothing would come out of it. So we have to wait until August, September for the project results. But if we have that project, then it means we have resources for traveling, for support of students, and that makes it much easier to work. The other project, I think that was the tipping point, ecological tipping point project. I think Udo and Claudia have talked about it, right? Ecotip? Dry tip? Ever heard of it? No? Okay. So, this project is about, it's modeling, actually, integrated modeling. With several aspects. One hydrological model will be integrated with an ecological model of transference of one status of ecosystem to the next one, with socioeconomic modeling of rural households and rural settlements. So trying to predict under which conditions the economy of the household is tipping, which means at which point can farming systems not survive anymore and have to change totally, which normally means people have to move. So we are analyzing these issues. Okay, so that are all the partners. I put it here if you want to have a look. It's really not so, the details are not so important here, but if you're interested, this is already online, so you can check on it. Just here, this is showing where we already have eco zones in transition to new status. So we have the border of the Cerrado and the Mata Atlântica region, and there are already some movements. Yeah, there's more partners in Brazil, and so I don't know if anybody's interested in beef cattle for slaughtering. So we have here one important partner, so also for farming systems. And the interesting part is that they were dreaming, or they are dreaming, this Embrapa is dreaming of a carbon neutral cattle system. So quite a challenge. And Ceará, we also I think you also have your contacts still somewhere there. So the northeast of Brazil is also a very interesting area because it's very disadvantaged economically and ecologically. Well, another area of interest where we are working in a partnership is in Bolivia. There are several theses were developed on related issues, most of them related to food security, some of them also to poverty relief programs or whatever. So there we have a very reliable system of partners, but Bolivia as such is not the easiest country to go to. Sometimes it gets complicated. Yeah, so you need time and patience, but it's very fascinating. Yeah, so you see some of the keywords like certainly urban agriculture is a rising issue. So, and urban agriculture, the interesting part here is that we are also having a partnership with the Cologne Food Council, Food Security Council, or however you would call it. Yeah, so we also consider comparing food security concepts from developing countries to what has been established here. Yeah. Sustainable forestry, ecosystem services. Another regional focus actually is Jordan. Yeah, so I went to a MENA conference on ecosystem services of natural habitats, and it's really quite amazing what has been developed so far. So in this area, we have specifically worked with the University of Jordan on some interesting, first of all, an evaluation of ecosystem services, but also on trying to find some solutions of, farming systems. So our partner has started a Moringa project. I don't know if you know Moringa. Yeah. Moringa, it's a very fast-growing tree crop, and it can be managed in different ways. Yeah, and the interesting aspect where it will grow very much under irrigation with wastewater. Yeah, and so it could solve two problems at a time, but still there are a lot of issues to be solved. No, we should, and so. Well, there will be a pilot installation. We also have a pilot installation in Turkey that people could work on. I think it's interesting. Yeah, peri-urban, as I already say, Cologne Food Council. So I just wanted to mention here, we have the opportunity to work in this region also. You know, for some, it's sometimes a bit difficult to go out for 3 months. And some of the approaches developed here might also be interesting and transferable to developing countries. So we have worked on FSC labeling for city forests. We have worked on, Food Council would be an opportunity to see what actually relates to food security. How can livelihoods in peri-urban areas be improved? That might be issues. And just a little bit of general, but I think that is not really a surprise. So I'm agriculture economist, and I'm here for environmental economists. That already shows where it goes. So we have certainly anything related to environmental economic effects of environmental policies or these kind of things are interesting. And the methodology would be there. Let's say lately it has become more interesting also to look more into forestry, and not only in agriculture, and also agroforestry. To evaluate agroforestry from several aspects, as I said before, farming system research in all those dimensions. Yeah. And what's probably not so obvious, I've worked a lot in irrigation, also in irrigated agriculture. Let's say a couple of years ago I did do my PhD on it, a long time ago actually, on irrigation management and irrigation institutions, organization, and these kind of things. So, and the other, so for example, participative irrigation management, a keyword, a very important one for Southeast Asia, where management strategies, we have, let's say, the shift from fully public managed systems to more private, more role of private and individual management is a global one going on for about 25, 30 years. Yeah, water allocation. So economic evaluation, optimization of water allocation. As I say, this would be a typical thing which a modeling approach could be applied for that. The problem I see is that it's not feasible in a master thesis, but there are doctoral theses going on, so a supplementary work or a small part of this could also be a topic for a master thesis. But to say, well, a master thesis is developing a full optimization for a complex situation of an irrigation parameter, I would not see that. Maybe you can be quicker in that. Yeah, water pricing, water quota, and so water allocation as such. No? Let's say the interesting topics are not the very specialized, but those at the interface. So we have developed a project some years ago in Egypt to optimize energy allocation for irrigation. And this certainly there has been a lot of advancement there. So like the solar-powered irrigation systems have become more common and not really standard yet, but more common. But well, how to deal with that? That would be a topic. And partners here in agriculture, irrigated agriculture, are in Thailand at the Asian Institute of Technology, basically. And also in Jordan and Egypt with our partners there from different projects. So that would be it from my side. To make it short, so if you are interested in specific projects, I think it's better you can have a first look at the slides, which I did not show here. And the other way is meet me in my office.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.